ready whenever you are. From Charlie Kirk to Steve Bannon, Jack Posobiec to Grant Stinchfield, you'll find all your favorite RAV hosts in one place.
You can listen on Spotify, Apple, Pandora, or Amazon. RAV is now available everywhere you get your podcasts. All you need to do is scan the QR code right now.
Download the iHeart app today and get ready for real America's voice.
Scan the QR code and join the RAV movement.
Well, look at that. Will you look at that right there? Beautiful West Palm Beach in the beautiful sunshine of the free state of Florida, folks. Welcome back. Happy Monday. And yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. I'm here. 4 o'clock bowling will now be broadcast on the great Real America's Voice. You want real, honest, true opinion, news, Real America's Voice. Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, Jack Posobiec. Kidding me? John Solomon. It goes on and on. At the White House, we have a lot to talk about today. So let's start by bringing in our own Real America's Voice chief White House correspondent, the man who's become a superstar in the media world. Brian Glenn, welcome to the show. Listen, you and I were on with Bannon last night. We've gone through that whole thing last night. It was amazing. It was a great night for Trump. You were also in the briefing room today, I believe. Brian, can you tell me what went down in the briefing room? Victory lap or what? I was in the air flying, so I missed the briefing.
It was a victory lap. It was a big one. Good afternoon, Eric. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to be here on this rainy day here in D.C. But it was kind of a recap of last night. She had 2 digital screens on either side of the podium, broke down the approval ratings of the president. One of them was, I believe, a CNN poll of the approval ratings, or I'm sorry, I think it was a CBS, on the approval ratings of President Trump last night on different subjects, everything from the border to Ukraine to handling the country, the economy. So, not only did we, the base, obviously approve of what he was saying, but even voters or viewers, I should say, that might not even identify as a Republican, they like what they saw last night, and he stood up for America. And Eric, you and I, we said this in the post show yesterday. I don't know what Democrats stand for now. What would actually get them off the seat and applaud? Because some of the stories we saw last night, got that young boy, 13 years old, battling cancer, got a deputy for Secret Service, which, by the way, he just left the Oval Office.
I saw that. I saw
a moment
Trump,
with President Trump. Yeah.
Rapid Response just posted a picture of DJs standing in the Oval, right at the Resolute desk.
DJ Daniels.
It was amazing. Brian, you and I are just chatting because you're looking at your phone and you're getting some heat from people. You're doing a great job. Trump calls on you all the time. It's fantastic for Brian Glenn. It's fantastic for Rav. Fantastic for our viewers. Tell us why. Are they jealous? Are people jealous? What's going on?
Yeah, I think there is a level of, when Caroline Leavitt, about, 3 weeks ago, announced that this major change was happening where the WHCA no longer had the authority or the guidance to place people in that briefing room and also on Air Force One, it did kind of tip over the apple cart, if you will, on the hierarchy of media outlets that have been here. And I have a lot of respect for a lot of people that have been here for so long. I've got a good friend I've met here that's been in the White House for a long time, hearing the stories, the history of not only Pebble Beach here, but inside that room. It's amazing. There's some really good people here, but there's also some very bitter people here that just do not want to see media outlets like ourselves be pushed to the front of the line and to be able to cover some of the events that we have. Yes, I have been in the Oval Office numerous times, the East Room numerous times, the Roosevelt Room as well, covering stories. And I think they're starting to say, now, wait a minute, is this fair? Is this fair and balanced? And I asked them, the last 4 years, we've seen the media coverage on President Trump. I think it was like 92% of all coverage on the last campaign was negative. So, this is just the way it is, and I don't think which I will say this, the first day, Eric, of this new media seat that was do you know who sat in that seat? Axios. I wouldn't necessarily consider
Mike Allen.
Axios. Yeah, I wouldn't
Mike Allen got the first question ever in that seat.
Yes.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yes.
So Brian,
it's great.
Haters gonna. Was it Taylor Swift? Haters gonna hate. That's what haters gonna hate, and they're gonna hate you because you're getting consistently called on. Now, I did notice something. You were called on in the Oval Office when Zelensky was there, and you called out Zelensky for wearing that jumpsuit, his little black jumpsuit, whatever it was. Said have some respect, and I noticed now. You have look. Take him full, Mad Dog. Take him full for a second. Look at that suit. Look how beautiful that suit is. You upped your suit game. I mean, you called him on. Now you're up in your suit game. And the reason why I bring this up, hold on. The reason why I bring this up is because I was at the White House yesterday, and out of respect for the office, out of respect for Trump in the office, I wore a suit yesterday, and I wore it on the show. And look what the guys at Rav did when I did that. Take a look at the scissor reel. Roll it, Mad Dog. Happy Tuesday. Don't get used to the suit.
Why don't you wear a suit?
You look very handsome in your suit, and I think we may have color coordinated.
President Trump is set to deliver the most important speech of his young second term.
The President of the United States.
There's a lot of groundswell of support around conservatism and especially America First, Trump, MAGA, Maha.
The environment's electric.
We saved the greatest country in the history of the world.
Welcome aboard to Real America's Voice. We are stronger and better with you here. You've done a great job. The first week has been boffo.
Justin Trudeau never knows when to stop talking.
We will not back down from a fight.
All right, soy boy.
Canada will fight back.
Canada? Are you kidding me? And we're coming out of that one. Brian, we're going to jump to the White House. I think J.D. Vance and Hegseth are talking right now, but I just want to let you know you've inspired so many people, awesome, including myself, to wear a suit, at least when I'm in D.C. at the White House. Quick thought before we run over to listen to J.D.
Okay, well, it's great to be on your show, Eric. You're doing a fantastic job. You're such an addition to this network. You're a legend in the business. And I had so many people come by me last night at the Capitol, and they said, hey, we love that suit question. Even got some good comments coming in from the building behind me. So it's a very popular, and of course, it's got a lot of criticism, international criticism. I'll be on Piers Morgan sometime. I think it airs sometime today. So it's great to have you on there.
I think there's a future. I'm going to hook you up with Men's Warehouse. I think you could be a spokesperson for them, or maybe even Armani. I don't know what suit you're looking at right now. It looks like an Armani to me. But Brian, we got to go. We're going to thank you for your time. Great job, by the way, Brian Glenn.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Mad Dog, do we have J.D. Vance, who's speaker, or Pete Hegseth? What do we have? Now we have Tulsi. Let's take a listen. Let's jump into that for a little bit.
Were either deported or remained in custody. Only 8. The rest of them were released back into our country. Where are they? What are they doing? What may they be plotting? This is just the beginning. There are many, many areas that we need to stay very focused on, working with Department of Homeland Security, working with the FBI to ensure that we're keeping the American.
We lost that feed. If we get it back, I would like to jump back in there because that was Tulsi Gabbard. And again, the vice president, we've been hearing about it all day, is at the border. And what a great idea after that massive speech last night for them to go to the border. MD, Mad Dog, are we getting that back? Is that a pull feed that went down or what's happening here? We're going to try and get that back. Talk to me, my friend. Talk to me. What's happening? All right, we're going to work on that, folks. So in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about the border. Let's stay on the border a little bit. Last week, or maybe it's the early part of this Monday, maybe the end of last week or Monday, we found out that border crossings are down 94% in the first full month, February, the first full month that Trump has been president this time around. 94% from a year, 96% from the all-time high, 94% from a year ago. That is insanely unbelievable. We haven't even built a wall yet. Haven't built a wall, and 94% reduction because Tom Homan, President Trump's policy, implemented by Tom Homan and Kristi Noem, they're working. So it's not just the wall. It's letting the people know, letting the people who want to come over here, break the law, cross our border, steal our resources and assets, never pay taxes, send their kids to school, our schools that we're paying for. I don't know, get EBT cards. In some major cities, we just heard city mayors, liberal mayors from Chicago, talking about how they will remain sanctuary city. The Boston mayor, also Michelle Wu, unbelievable. So basically what we've said and what Trump is saying and what Tom Homan has said and what Kristi Noem has said and what Pete Hegseth is saying. Think about that. Department of Defense is there too, telling the intruders, the invaders, don't come. If you come, we're going to send you back. And that is far, far from what they've been told for the last prior 4 years and by every single Democrat. So again, 94% reduction. So it's not, when Mayorkas tells us that it's the border is secure and he lies through his teeth. We don't have a border problem. The border is secure. He was lying. He was simply lying. It wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. They were planning, they were plotting to allow these illegals to come across the border. And we all know why. They stay here for a little while. They make themselves comfortable. They educate their children. They feed their families. They get driver's license. Maybe some vote in California. And then they vote Democrat. And then they vote Democrat year after year, and Republicans will never be able to win a national election again. Once you let all these 11, 12, 20, however number there are into this country, you give them a path to citizenship, there will never be another elected official Republican ever again. Maybe in some certain states, maybe Florida will have senators and governors and congresspeople as Republican. There won't be any national electeds as Republicans once you let those folks vote, because you've given them everything. We've basically laid out the red carpet. It's called a magnet. They're metal, and we have this one big, massive magnet, our economy, this beautiful country, this beautiful economy, and they're magnetizing the illegals to come across until you tell them, guess what? No more, no mas. And that's what Trump did. And that's what he's doing. I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to get that feedback. So we're going to throw to break and talk more about this on the backside. 2.5 minutes, we're going to come back and bring up the border with someone who knows a heck of a lot about the border. We'll be right back. right, well, the border's a big deal today. J.D. Vance is there. We just saw Tulsi Gabbard there. I believe Pete Hegseth is there as well. Think about that for just a second. The Department of Defense there for a reason. Donald Trump is sending the signal that says you come across the border, you break the law, you're going back. And that's why, as we pointed out, 94% reduction in border crossings in Trump's first month alone, and without the wall even being built. So let's bring in the host of Law and Border here on RAV, Ben Burke. Ben, really good having you. I know you're out in the wilderness right now, and I want to ask you if you're at the border, but you had a funny response to that. Tell us where you are, and then let's get into what they're talking about at the border.
Well, I'm actually, if I didn't do what I do on the media whenever I'm home, the rare opportunities I'm home, I crystal mine or treasure hunt. So I'm out here at one of these mines. But I told you that I'm in Arkansas, back home in Arkansas right now. And I say it's the border state of Arkansas because every state's a border state because of what Joe Biden and the Democrats did over the last 4 years.
So, Ben, J.D. Vance, on the heels of a really successful evening with the joint session of Congress last night, Trump did very, very well. J.D. Vance comes to the border. I guess that's a message, I would say. And by the way, last night, a lot of the things he talked about were border issues. For example, Laken Riley Act, et cetera. So tell us about that. Tell us your thoughts on what's going on at the border right now as we speak.
Well, look, we've been covering it I've been about 10 years. And what I saw over the last 4 years was it was treason. I mean, it absolutely was treason. And the fact that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats had the nerve to say that they couldn't stop it when they invited it. I was actually down in Panama the day after Secretary Mayorkas flew down there to announce this controlled flow operation when he announced it back in 2021, 2022. After the invasion and begun. And basically all it was designed to do was take our money partly through USAID and fund the invasion of our own country. He made it easier rather than making it more difficult. Every single country along the way that illegals were coming from, and they're not just coming from Mexico. Everybody knows that now. It's 160, 170, 180 countries now where you have illegals coming through. And rather than making it more difficult, the Democrats invited it. And it really goes back to the base of the Democrat Party. We really got to focus on this going forward. The NGOs that profited off this, Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, Jewish Family Services, and the tip of the spear, the United Nations, OIM, and UNHCR. All of these organizations make their living off of the invasion, off of illegal aliens traveling around the world. And so these organizations, President Trump came in, and it's incredible. In 6 weeks, he did what Joe Biden said couldn't be done. But really all he did was put America first. And that's the big difference. The Democrats put America last. They invited the largest invasion in human history, the largest mass migration in human history, and said it couldn't be stopped. President Trump in 6 weeks stopped it. Now the real fight begins going after the cartels. And as I mentioned, all these NGOs.
And this is really important. It's a very dangerous activity. I assume that's why Pete Hegseth and our Defense Department is getting involved. Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, you're talking about the worst of the worst. The reason that they had to be labeled terrorist organizations is because these guys are just as evil as ISIS. They will dismember their enemies, their political enemies, while they're still alive. It is ISIS. It is evil. They are terrorists. And the worst part about it, Eric, is we just gave them $100 billion. I mean, you look at the amount of money that went into the cartels over the last 4 years. We weaponized the cartels. We gave them that money. Joe Biden and these border policies gave them the money. And what did they do with that money? They didn't give it away. They didn't buy candy for the kids in their neighborhood. They bought weapons, and they are stocked up and ready to fight. And the reason it's so important that Pete Hegseth and that our military, our special operations, our special operating teams go after these guys is because Mexico can't do it. Mexico is basically a failed narco state. Every level of government has been corrupted by the cartels, from the president on down to every local municipality, from the DAs, the judges, all of the local cops. When you're in Mexico, and I do a lot of work down there, the biggest problem you have is uncertainty. You don't know who's on your side and who's not. And that's why it's so important. What President Trump is doing right now, this is the only way we will stop this for future generations. It's a win for Mexico, but it's also a win for America. It's a win for the world, really. But you have to send in just as much power to deal with these guys. You have to have overall support. to do it.
You know, I just had a great idea. I don't know. I'm sitting here talking to Ben, and my idea is, since we've raised the tariff on Mexico from, I believe it was 10 up to 25%, that's going to be a lot of money. That's a lot of fee income revenue coming in, and you used that money for the border wall. And guess what you just did, Ben? You just made Mexico pay for the wall, didn't you? I'm not kidding.
That's right. No, 100%. I mean, we need to do a whole bunch of things. We need to tax remittances and have them pay for it that way, the legal immigrants that are in our country. But you're absolutely right. Mexico should pay for this. The tariffs should help do that. And Mexico should want to pay for this. If Mexico, the ones that aren't part of the criminal organization, by the way, forgive the wind up here. It all of a sudden it's super windy. But if they weren't part of the cartel operations, they should want America's help. They should want President Trump's help in getting rid of the most evil people on the planet. They should be inviting this. And so they should be inviting the wall. The problem is we've got corrupt officials both on the Mexico side and the U.S. side. And again, it's not just Mexico. Mexico's a failed narco state for the most part, but we have many of those same corrupt officials. A lot of that money that the cartels made, that went straight across the border into the United States, into politicians' pockets in the U.S. So we need investigations into those individuals as well. But
right.
Mexico should pay for it.
I want to ask you this question, very, very important question. I hear the wind and all, but folks, bear with us right here, right now. The thought, Ben, and I've heard that this is going to, the theory and the idea would be to put some U.S. military folks on the border, but also on the Mexico side of the border. Is Mexico going to be okay with that? And do they have a choice?
Well, the corrupt ones aren't going to be okay with that. I mean, they're making their money off of the cartels. A lot of these guys make, they're politicians, but they really make their money off of human and drug trafficking. They won't be okay with it. But the ones that want their country back, they want Mexico back, they want to make Mexico great again, they will absolutely be okay with it. And I'll just say this, without having firsthand knowledge of it, the only way that operation that was pulled last week to get 29 of the top cartel leaders out of Mexico extradited to the United States was guaranteed with our guys on the ground there, whether that's special operations or intelligence guys down there. We're already on the ground in Mexico, I have no doubt. And I think that whether we're actually going in, our special operators are the best in the world. So, you want somebody taken out, you send in the best, but we can also train the guys. Mexico has some special operating teams of their own. The biggest problem in Mexico is trusting that information doesn't disseminate down to the cartels. That's what they've had for so long. And again, that's why I think it's actually crucial that America plays a direct role in that. And if we want to talk about wars we need to fight, this is the war we need to fight. This is the war we should have been fighting for the last 30 years. Yeah.
I'm a victim of that war, my family. I've been to the border many, many times. I've been in the tunnels. The tunnels will run sometimes 500-600 yards from the Mexico side of the border to a warehouse on the U.S. side of the border, and they're only about this wide, right? And some of them are bigger, but there's literally thousands of them. And we find 5 or 6, and it's a big deal, and we expose it. Here's the thought, and this is very controversial. You can just explosives, you can detonate the ground and you can cave the tunnels, and then you won't have to worry about finding them and exposing them. But some will say it's not. You may lose some additional collateral lives. What are your thoughts on that idea, Ben?
Well, one of the bigger issues that we're dealing with right now is public opinion. And so, unfortunately, a lot of what we're talking about, is viewed from the lens of how it's accepted or not accepted by the populace. And so it's part of what we're seeing with ICE right now, with their limited operations going after the worst of the worst to get America's buy-in. I think you have most of America's buy-in, but we're still dealing with a mainstream media in America who's going to do everything they can to tear down President Trump and tear down America. So we have to be strategic and wise about the things we do there. The other issue, one issue with that, just to play devil's advocate, is a lot of these tunnels, most of them are actually in urban areas. So in Juarez, in fact, the tunnel building technology started off in Juarez, but it was brought over by Hezbollah and Hamas through the Sinaloa cartel. And so, when we talk about terrorists, we're actually dealing with not just the drug terrorists and the gang terrorists, we're also dealing with legitimate terrorists. But I agree with you 100%. I think we need to do whatever it takes to win this war, to defeat this enemy for generations to come, to stop it from being a recycling problem that we have every 4 years. You get a traitorous Democrat back in office, they give the country back over to the cartels, we're screwed again. We need to make sure that that doesn't happen. But that also means we need to prosecute the traitors that invited the invasion in the first place. And thank God we've got Cash in there and Pam Bondi and some people that may, I hope, actually do that.
All right. Well, you find some crystals, Ben. We're gonna check in with you from time to time. Appreciate your time, Ben Berkwam, Law and Border host. Thank you, Ben. All right, we lost him. I think we probably lost his audio. All right, we'll be right back. All right. Mad Dog, can I get Voice of God in here? Can I get Voice of God in here for a second? You hear me? Mad Dog? Dog, you hear me? Can we get another Palm Beach shot? Okay. We're going to have to start looking for some other locations. It doesn't always have to be. We can find other ones. All right, folks. The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world, bar none. And with April 15th fast approaching, it's more aggressive, the IRS is, than ever. In 2025, enforcement has ramped up. And if you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, waiting is not an option. The longer you wait, the worse it gets. Ignoring your tax troubles is the worst thing you can do. April 15th marks another tax year that's passed us by. Getting ahead of this now is a smart move, but never contact the IRS alone. Instead, let the experts at Tax Network USA handle it for you. Why? Because not all tax resolution companies are the same. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS, meaning they know exactly which agents to deal with and which to avoid. Avoid the mean ones. With proven strategies to settle tax problems in your favor, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, Tax Network USA's attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Talk with one of their strategists today. It's free. Stop the threatening letters. Stop looking over your shoulder and protect yourself from property seizures and bank levies. Don't let the IRS control your future. Call 1-800-905-8000 or visit tnusa.com/RAV, R-A-V. April 15th, just around the corner, folks. Act now before the IRS acts first. You don't want that to happen. All right, so is regrettable, and for those listening on podcasts, I'm doing air quotes, is regrettable the same as sorry? Is it? Well, it depends on what your definition of is. Little Clinton reference right there. Zelensky finds the whole Oval Office fiasco, quote, regrettable. Well, yeah, so do most Americans. So does anyone with common sense. This is the most important and most powerful country in the world, the United States is. That's given billions upon hundreds of billions to help that man fight his war. And he walks into the Oval Office, essentially threatens America, tries to bully around the President of the United States and the VP, J.D. Vance, changes course from what was promised prior, right there in front of the cameras rolling in the Oval Office. You don't do that with Trump. But now he finds himself feeling it's regrettable what happened. I hate that word. I hate he did that. Doesn't matter, though, because good old Adam Shifty Schiff thinks that he's the cat's pajamas.
Well, there's a meeting in the White House of the leader of the free world, and Donald Trump is also going to be there because, sadly, he's not the leader of the free world. It's turning, the administration is turning American foreign policy into a kind of protection racket. So I'm deeply concerned about this.
You know what I'm deeply concerned about? Adam Shifty, or as Trump used to call him, pencil neck. The state of your party, the Democrat Party. This goes beyond not agreeing with the opposing party. Now, this is so much worse. Democrats are a stain on this country. They're a danger to this country. They've lost the plot, sure, but they're beyond saving. More importantly, they're really, really, really bad for this country. Let's dig in. The Democrats are so far beyond saving that I actually think they're a danger to America, and I'm serious. They're heartless. They're so consumed with blind hatred of President Donald Trump that they're an actual impediment to success of the United States of America. We already knew that. They've clearly become the party of violence, but this is next level now. Think about this. Democrats stayed seated last night when a kid with cancer was honored at the address last night. This young man right here, DJ, watch.
Ever since then, I had 13 brain surgeries, and that's how many times my personality has changed. And that's something that you don't hear from a terminally ill child. They have 5 months to live. I'm going to keep on going until my gas tanks run out. And that's when God calls you home. You never know when God's going to call you home.
I mean, you got to have a heart. Who doesn't have a heart for that young man? They couldn't even stand up when President Trump honored him last night. Democrats, nothing? Stay seated, what, in protest? Really? This is what they've become, the party of seething, of hatred. What kind of values are those, Democrats? They refuse to stand for Laken Riley, murdered by an illegal, thanks to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They refused last night to stand for Officer Diller. They refuse to stand for 13 service men and women killed in Afghanistan. For Corey Compatore, who was killed in Butler, Pennsylvania by President Trump's would-be assassin. A bullet missed Trump and killed Corey. They didn't stand up for a single one of those Americans. That's the state of the Democrat Party. Oh, well, here's the face of that party.
Turned it over to him. And we don't know everything that Elon Musk has done with his high technology. We don't know what he's been accused of by some as it may relate to the election. But we're not going to give up in investigating and finding.
What on God's green earth is Maxine Waters talking about? Now Elon Musk hacked the 2024, hacked the election? And we're back to election denialism again, aren't you, Democrats? They're awfully obsessed with President Trump's questioning the results of the 2020 election, and now we're back to this. They are beyond desperation. It's downright dangerous. What's that party become? Once upon a time, our parties, left and right, could respect each other. The president walked into the room and everyone acknowledged the office. This is the leader of the free world. This is the man voted into office resoundingly, a mandate. They can certainly disagree with him, but what we're seeing now is a party on the brink. They're an embarrassment. They've always seemed like they would stop at nothing. I mean, it was 4 years, the lies, the lawfare, the Hitler comparisons. But this party would rather send money to Ukraine than to help their fellow Americans in North Carolina through tragedy or California through wildfires. What, because they're Trump voters in North Carolina? Because their cities run red? Is that really what Democrats want to stand for? This isn't just about being childish. After all, everyone knows politics can be ugly. It's a blood sport. This is beyond that. They claim to be defending women a day after every single one of them voted down a bill protecting women. Not one Democrat voted for that bill. Every single one of them voted against the bill to keep men, biological dudes, out of women's sports. Zero interest in protecting women. It's dangerous. Women are getting hurt with dudes slamming volleyballs in women's faces. They won't protect women in the name of sticking it to President Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. This is the new normal for Democrats, the party of violence, of corruption, of lies, and of hypocrisy. I once thought they couldn't go any lower than this disgusting America-hating moment. I was wrong. Last night proved it yet again. They're not just disgusting. They're downright inhumane and a danger to you and I in America. Remember when way back in 2009, Barack Obama was giving a speech. Joe Wilson from South Carolina, Republican, yelled out, "You lie," and everyone lost it.
The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally. It's not true. And one more misunderstanding I want to clear up. Under our plan, no federal dollars.
So that moment, Barack Obama was speaking, and Joe Wilson from the back of the room, South Carolina Republican, yells, "You lie," and he's talking about whether or not you could keep your doctor during Obamacare, or whatever the issue is. That little "you lie," and everyone went ballistic. I remember this. The Democrats were saying the Republicans, they've lost control of themselves. They're a threat to democracy. This is the sanctity of the president speaking on a State of the Union or address if it was the first year. And look what happened last night. Their party has devolved into downright lunacy. Last night, the only moment during the speech that garnered enthusiasm, a collective applause among the Democrats, was when President Trump mentioned spending hundreds of billions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, by the way, on the war in Ukraine. Several Democrats even pulled out Ukrainian flags and waved them. There were several Democrats that, according to those in attendance, immediately pulled out Ukrainian flags and started waving all over the place. Think about that for a second. Their applause was not meant to celebrate any result of that spending. So they weren't celebrating a victory of any kind for Ukraine or some kind of positive or benefit for America. Think about it. They so enthusiastically celebrate not our homeland and all of the great things that are happening to this United States thanks to President Trump, but celebrated that all they could do is celebrate the deaths of hundreds of thousands in a foreign land. The Democrats can't clap for a kid with cancer. The Democrats can't clap for a high schooler who lost his father in the line of duty getting into West Point. The Democrats can't clap for a released hostage held by Russia, but they can wave the hell out of Ukrainian flags and endlessly fund that stupid war. That is your new Democrat Party. They're not just corrupt, not just cheaters, liars. They're a danger to this country. Even Chuck Schumer, that knucklehead, couldn't really defend the disgusting actions of his own party.
You called it nasty. It was like 4 minutes into the speech when Congressman Al Green was yelling at the podium and he was escorted out. What was going through your head as you heard the congressman yelling?
Well, look, the bottom line is lots of people are frustrated, but the best way to protest what Trump is doing what we are doing and many senators and many congressmen are doing.
They're a danger to this country. Listen to this. Just today, the mayor of Chicago refusing to say that he would turn in a criminal illegal invader, an alien, over to ICE.
Mayor Johnson, under Chicago law, would you turn this criminal over to ICE on a detainer?
Our local law enforcement works hard every day to get criminals off the streets of Chicago.
Would you turn that criminal over to ICE? That's the problem. That's one of the topics of this conversation. That's one of the problems we've heard from Tom Hammond and from the Homeland Security, is that in your cities, when someone's apprehended for a crime, and ICE is now with this new federal policy wanting to come in and deport the criminal alien, that you will not cooperate with.
Or the Denver mayor defending releasing a dangerous illegal migrant who ended up assaulting police officers.
Basically, it says if you're going to release this bad guy, this gang member who allegedly stole a car, menaced people, and assaulted people, give us a 48-hour heads up. Is that right? That refresh your memory?
I do know about the detainer request. I do know that we provided a notification of release.
What kind of notice did you give ICE when you released him?
We gave him notification. I'm not sure how long in advance it was. I do know that. 1 hour. I do know that there was
1 hour notice, and you released him 5 days ago, right?
Or how about Ayanna Presley and Comer?
Without objection, so ordered. We've put it in the record.
I have an internet.
You have what?
Mr. Chair, can I have several articles. So I need to enter them. Let me just go ahead with what the articles are. What they speak to.
What's the next article?
Let me proceed. Data from Texas shows that U.S.-born Americans commit more rape and murder than immigrants.
Listen, this trend of you all trying to get thrown out of committee so you can get on MSNBC is going to end. We're not going to put up with it.
This is my procedural right as a member of this committee.
You can go. You can go with Mr. Frost and Mr. Green.
I'm reclaiming my time.
That's what you want. No. Ms. Presley, I have been very accommodating to you, Mr. Subrajan.
And I take particular umbrage as a survivor of sexual violence. I will insert into the record. This is my right. Thank you.
No. It is Mr. Subramaniam.
Mr. Chair.
No, you know the process of unanimous consent. You are not recognized.
I have several articles to enter into the record.
Mr. Subramaniam, if you don't go, we're going to recognize Mr. Timmons.
Folks, these Democrats are anti-American. We'll be right back. that. Look at those sights. That's a beautiful shot there, MD. Thank you. You don't go out and buy a life jacket when the boat is already sinking, right? And you don't go and buy gold when the economy has already collapsed. Clearly, others are heeding this advice as gold is hitting all-time record highs. The first part of 2025, it hit $3,000 an ounce. Can you believe that? It's not too late, though. The company you should always trust to help diversify yourself and your portfolio into physical gold is Birch Gold. It's the company you should buy gold from. Birch Gold specializes in helping you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold for no money out of your pocket. Just listen to this 5-star review. Quote, knowledgeable, helpful, non-pressure. That's what you get with Birch Gold. Get your free info kit on gold by texting the word America to the number 989898. There's no obligation whatsoever, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, text America to 989898 and let the experts at Birch Gold help you secure your future today with that beautiful, beautiful gold shiny metal. Gold, folks. All right, I was bringing my friend, to take a quick sip though. I'm bringing my friend Eric Metaxas because Eric Metaxas is my guru, my spiritual guru when it comes to all things, religion and whatnot. Eric, can you help us come in and talk to us and help us understand what is going on with the Pope right now? Where is he? Is he even alive? I mean, is he effectively alive and the head of the church right now?
Listen, Eric, it's funny that you're asking me this because I'm actually not Catholic. I'm a very pro-Catholic Christian, right? Every faithful Catholic I know who loves God and who loves the faith does not like this Pope. This Pope, I mean, it's a good reminder. You don't worship the Pope. You worship God. You worship Jesus. This Pope has been very confusing. And I just think it's an important reminder to people that we worship God. Jesus died for me. The Pope didn't die for me. Jesus died for me. Jesus rose from the dead. And I need to focus on him. And a day like Ash Wednesday, perfect day for us to be proud of our faith, to live out our faith. We're living in a country really that was built by people of profound Christian faith. And I just think it's beautiful that Trump even mentions God publicly the way he does. So I'm actually very excited about the spiritual state of America at this point.
And Eric, you don't have to be, I'm Catholic, but you don't have to be Catholic to understand, and you know so much about these things. This Pope became very political, right? I saw him as becoming a very left-leaning Pope when he talked about open the borders, embrace LGBTQ communities. I mean, those things aren't biblical, am I right?
Well, this is what's so funny. There's nothing wrong with a person of faith being political, as long as the political is accurate, right? In other words, let's say I'm a person of faith and it's 1860 and I stand, because of my faith, I stand against slavery. I say it's an abomination. It's an evil thing, and everybody should vote for Abraham Lincoln. I'm being political, but it's biblical. It's my Christian faith leads to those things. Here you have a Pope, and we had that woman, that Episcopal priest preaching in Trump's face, the day of the inauguration. They're being political, but their politics is antithetical to the Christian faith. So it's a bizarre moment. It's an absolutely bizarre moment. How can you deviate from what the church has taught for 2,000 years? There are men and there are women. End of sentence. There's nothing to discuss. The first part of the Bible says God made us in his image, male and female. So when you have people posturing, leaning in these trendy new directions, which are away from what the Bible says, what the faith has taught, you simply have to reject it and call it what it is. They're pandering, they're trying to be relevant, and it makes them less relevant.
Eric, it's pretty, I think it's common knowledge. I don't think that I'm stepping over a line here saying that organized religion is losing faith. Their people, the parishioners aren't coming in the numbers that they used to. So for the Catholics who they see a Pope and you've basically divided half the Catholic faith, because some people believe that the border should be secured and the marriage is between a man and a woman, and some don't. What would you recommend the Catholic Church do to replace this Pope? What type of Pope do you think should be next?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Pope should be genuinely Catholic. This Pope he's effectively kind of a Marxist agnostic. I don't know what he is, but it's a scandal. And I say all the faithful Catholics I know, they're just stunned. They don't really know what to do. Even when you talk about the borders, this is a scandal. A lot of the Catholic bishops, they've been taking money. They're thrilled with the open borders. They're turning a blind eye to sex trafficking, to fentanyl pouring into the country, to destroying lives. There's, again, when you deal with quote unquote organized religion, you get people doing ugly stuff that's antithetical to the faith. And so, we need a Pope, and there are many cardinals out there that they are godly, faithful men. And that's the prayer of everybody, that those kind of people would be leading us in the decades ahead.
Eric, so what do you say to the folks who say, look, the Bible says, help your fellow man, help those who don't have what you have, and yet it could be perceived as, well, that looks like it's a liberal handout to me. So,
well, no, see, that's what I'm saying. It's like you don't make border policy based on that. And again, this is it's sloppy. It's a common sense issue. I'm supposed to do what I can to help my fellow man. Does that mean we don't have borders? Because if we don't have a border, we are destroying our fellow men and women. People are being raped. People are being sex trafficked. Drugs comes in. Let me just you and I have had this discussion before, and this is a very important point to make. But the Pope is supposed to speak for God, right? According to Catholic faith. Not exactly. The Catholic Church teaches that when he is speaking ex cathedra, which is very, very, very rare, in fact, in his papacy, never, then it's an official thing. Otherwise, and a lot of people get confused, a lot of Catholics get confused. I think when the Pope talks, it's like God talking. Absolutely not. That is not Catholic doctrine. It has never been Catholic doctrine. And people need to understand that, our leaders should be saying things that are consonant with what the faith teaches, but it doesn't mean that they will. And there have been many popes that didn't. So we have to be very, very careful that, that term of papal infallibility, that it really is a very confusing term. People get it wrong. The Pope is not infallible in those extremely rare cases when he's saying something, quote unquote, ex cathedra. But this Pope has never done that.
He's never done that. So it's like an official declaration. It's official, and he hasn't done that in his tenure.
No, and if he's as ex cathedra, he says 1 + 1 = 3, the church would be destroyed. The Pope can only say things that go along with the faith. And so, a lot of people are confused. A lot of Catholics are confused. But the Pope is not infallible in that sense. And many times he can say things that are flat out wrong.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Eric Metaxas, always good having you on, my friend. And we will come back when, we've been hearing the Pope is on the last leg, so to speak. So we will likely see a new Pope very soon. We'll analyze that next time. Ian, and you can put your Catholic hat on just for a couple of minutes, if you don't mind. Eric Metaxas, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we will be right back with Bannon. Okay, so there, Mad Dog did a great job. Look, that's Naples, Florida. That's a live view of up here in Naples, Florida. Look at that sky, folks. That's headed this way. That's the west coast of Florida. Weather tends to go west to east, so we probably will see some of that. And by the way, for the record, I spent 4.5 hours on an airplane this morning flying around the skies trying to avoid that weather right there. All right, let's bring in Steve Bannon, my good friend Steve Bannon. Steve, my spirit animal, Steve Bannon. Steve, you crushed it last night. I don't think I've seen Steve Bannon throw it around the way you did. You were going, let's go to White, let's go to the Capitol, let's go to Brian Glenn, let's go. There's Solomon. It was a sight to behold, folks.
It was back to my basketball days. You guys are the shooters. All I got to do is deal the ball, and you guys bang away. So it was incredible. Everybody was a gun last night. It was fantastic.
Well, you really threw it around. I'm telling you, Ravs is a real deal, man. They're going to start to take notice. If they haven't yet, they're certainly going to. Hey, Steve, I had a great idea just a little bit earlier. I was on with Ben Berkram, a good friend of yours, and you know this whole idea of raising Mexico's tariff fee from 10, whatever it was, to 25%. We take that's probably going to be tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions, whatever. It's going to be a massive amount of money. And we take that from Mexico and we build the freaking wall with it, and we've made Mexico pay for the wall. I'd like your thoughts on that.
I think it's one of President Trump's, although cash is fungible, I think it's one of the things he's thinking about is to remember, even in the deal with Ukraine, which I'm not crazy about, his whole idea now is recoupment for, money we put. That's why he always complains about, he's always upset about Iraq, right? $7 trillion, and they kept the oil concessions. He's always looking for recoupment. So I think it's a very smart idea on these tariffs. Although, the reconciliation package, the $170 billion, includes the building of the wall, and, the reconciliation package, whether it's one big, beautiful bill or two bills, should be done theoretically sometime this summer. But I like your idea a lot.
Well,
take the tariffs and plow it back into the security of the wall.
He gets to get that campaign promise. I mean, remember the left was, Mexico didn't pay for the wall. Guess what, folks? Mexico is going to end up paying for that damn wall. You point something out that this minerals and rare earth deal with Ukraine, it doesn't sound. I agree with you. I'm trying to figure out where the payoff is. And Solomon last night said, well, it's a deal where if you're actually bringing U.S. companies on the ground in Ukraine, Russia's going to be less likely to attack it. But also, it's a long-term payback for continuing to take metals and rare earth out of Ukraine. I agree with you, though. I'm still waiting on that oil from Iraq to pay us back for those.
Well, last night, the president was very specific. He talked about the EU. I think he's trying to sign today about rare earths mining here in the United States. Remember, rare earth is not rare; it's just dirt, right? It's very messy to mine. That's why we haven't done a lot of it in the United States. There's been restrictions. I think last night what he said about rare earths is, I'm going to open up and do it, particularly in states like Minnesota, up there by the Iron Range. There's huge deposits of rare earths in the United States. It's just you have the willingness to do it. And so what I don't like about President Trump is using it as a predicate to peace. Obviously.
Is he going to give them more money, Steve? We're going to get to mine some minerals, but we're going to continue to fund that insane conflict or whatever's going on. Or
at least the structure of the memorandum of understanding is no more money, no more arms. American companies or international companies will come in there. But you know how that is, Eric. This is just a framework to get to the teeth of the deal. Dissent, Witkoff, and others. J.D. Vance, the vice president, others will get into the details. But right now, I think hopefully it's dead in the water. You don't know. 1 minute they say they're going to sign, the next minute they're not.
Do a deal with Ukraine, do a deal with Russia for the same deal. You got the same equipment in the same region. Businessman Trump may win.
Well, hold it. You bring up my point is that the minerals in Ukraine are all in kind of the Donbass. The ones that are not, that are west of there, I believe, Eric, you got Russian tanks sitting on them right now.
Crimea.
Most of it. So I think the rapprochement with Russia is tantamount, and I think that's what President Trump is really focused on.
Now, we're going to give you the show, Steve. Take it away. And I just love these handoffs. They're amazing. Good talking to you. Again, my spirit animal, folks. Steve Bannon. Talk to you soon.
Oh, always good, Eric. Love you, brother.
Here's what we got. We're packed this afternoon. I got Poso coming in a little while. We're going to talk about Intel, Ukraine, in the arrest by Kash Patel and the FBI and others of the mastermind